Big Finish Productions have just released their 12th and final box set in the Diary of River Song collection. Let's talk about it. Since 2015, Alex Kingston has been reprising the role of River Song in a series of Big Finish audio box sets, and these are ones that I hadn't really been keeping up to date with over the past few years. I am a very late adopter to the Diary of River Song sets, only diving in for the last quarter of these 12 collections. I really liked and admired Alex Kingston's performance in the TV series, but I thought that the writing, particularly Stephen Moffat's one-handed writing approach, really let the character down and made her feel pretty one-dimensional. So I was kind of expecting the same from the Diary of River Song Big Finish box sets, but with a bit more fan service. I mean, you look at the covers of some of the earlier Big Finish box sets, and it's, you know, River Song meets the 8th Doctor, meets the 4th Doctor, meets the 1st Doctor, played by David Bradley, Mechanoids, K9, and things like that. Not to say that nothing good can come out of that, but from the outside, it didn't look like a series that really appealed to me. But then, when Big Finish started sending me review copies, starting with the Two Rivers and a Firewall box set from last year, I started listening to the sets, and I really grew to appreciate them. Two Rivers and a Firewall made it into my top 10 box sets list from last year, and the one that came out in January, Friend of the Family, is currently my #1 Big Finish release of 2023 so far. So it's with that in mind that I went into the Orphan Quartet, the 12th and final Diary of River Song box set. I had pretty high expectations. They weren't fully met, but I still think this is a really solid box set with a set of eclectic stories. You've got a quartet of stories here. You've got The Excisemen by Lou Morgan, Harvest of the Crotons by James Goss, Dead Man Talking by Tim Foley, and The Wife of River Song by Lizzie Hopley. While Friend of the Family was able to be a really sprawling family tree epic melodrama, basically one story that spanned the course of 4 hours, which meant it could get really deep into the characters and the world building that they were putting together for that box set. This one, you get 4 incredibly different and diverse stories with a great eclectic cast, including some familiar faces and some returning foes. I really can't fault the Diary of River Song, the Orphan Quartet, when it comes to variety. First things first, you've got The Excisemen, written by Lou Morgan, and it's essentially a nautical pirate-themed base under siege story, where River Song finds herself in the 18th century on the Cornish coastline, and she takes refuge from a storm after being in a shipwreck in a nearby inn, in a really quiet and seemingly mostly empty town. But the inn itself holds many secrets, and its owners have done a deal with a man simply known as the Agent, played by Derek Elroy, who's giving such a slimy and malicious yet somehow charming performance. He might be one of the best characters in this whole box set. The people of this town have done a deal with the Agent in order to prevent them from being killed by what is known as the Excisemen, these what I imagine are as like Guillermo del Toro Pale Man type creatures that decide to besiege the inn because the deal has been broken. And it's up to River Song, with her limited resources and 18th century Cornwall, to try and defend the inn and to stave off the invasion of the Excisemen. Let's play a clip from the Excisemen.
Now, sit down by the fire. Stop being you and listen to me. You've made a bad deal. You're tied by the rules of it. But so are the Excisemen. They want to come inside, but you have to let them in. If you don't, you're safe. Those are the rules.
No, she's lying. Throw her out!
Oh, I told you, sit down. Shut up. I am so tired of you.
She's not just a witch. I'll tell you what she is. She's a French spy. That's what she is.
French?
Haven't I always seen you right?
I think, Jory, they were with you at Witch, but you lost them at French. I'll close the door, if you don't mind, and then we'll solve this together.
So James Goss's mission statement for the Orphan Quartet box set is that this is a box set that takes place very shortly after the events of The Angels Take Manhattan, where River Song has had to say goodbye to her mother and father, Amy Pond and Rory Williams. And as a result, she's still in the thralls of grief. She has essentially been orphaned. She is one of the orphans of the title. And while she would give anything to see her parents and her family again, the people of this town in Cornwall seem to have done a deal with the Excisemen and the Agent, so they're saying goodbye to their friends and family by choice, something that enrages River Song. I really like hearing an angry River Song because I don't think it's something you heard or saw that often in the TV series, so to hear Alex Kingston go to those places was a really interesting listen, and it kind of left you on the edge of your seat, because you don't know if River is actually going to save these people. She's not the Doctor. You know, we saw how she killed the Dalek in the Big Bang story in Series 5, that she's willing to maybe take a different approach to what justice means. But the sound design was really solid as well. This was like almost a Guillermo del Toro-esque Base Under Siege story that was set on a little Cornish town. And shout out as well to Jade Matthew, who plays Wenna, who is the barmaid of this inn, who essentially becomes River Song's surrogate companion for this story. The two have got a really good dynamic with each other as they're both discovering what is this deal that's been done with the excisemen and the agent. And like I said, I do think that the cast standout here is Derek Elroy as that agent. He's so good here. It's not a particularly revolutionary story, but it's a really solid horror-themed Base Under Siege story. I really enjoyed it. Next up, we've got what I think is the most anticipated story of this box set. We've got Harvest of the Crotons, written by James Goss, which sees River Song team up with Camille Coduri as Jackie Tyler, Rose Tyler's mum. And not only that, the iconic, the perfect, the irreplaceable 1960s villains that obviously surpassed the Daleks in terms of popularity and status, the Crotons are in this story as well, in what's meant to be a weird social commentary about like what happens to washed up celebrities. You know, the talent show stars that never make it to the final and also don't make it big, or the soap opera stars who are very talented but then are very quickly forgotten, and then they start shilling for health food drinks or vitamin supplements and things like that. What happens to them? Well, apparently they want to be embraced by the Crotons, and they have started this weird health spa thing that Jackie Tyler gets involved with after a bit of pushing and prodding from River Song. But enough rambling, let's play a clip from Harvest of the Crotons.
Isocrotonic drink, crystal smoothie, avocado and crystal water. Oh, this cocktail bar's rubbish. Not touching any of it.
Good, because I don't trust it.
You could have warned me this health spa would be so healthy. Are you wearing a caftan?
They're very popular on Metabellis 3.
They must have amazing central heating.
Oh, they do.
This makes a change, you know. I was stuck in a rut. That's what the Doctor does. He waltzes in, steals the best thing in your life, leaves you like half a Savoy at a bus stop.
But it's not always like this.
Oh, come on. You've got a mum, haven't you?
Yes?
And do you see her? Do you call her, or are you running down a corridor full of fire, laughing your head off?
Oh, you know me.
I know you.
Then you know it's complicated.
Don't give me that. You're living your best life. But what about your mum? Does she miss you while you're off doctoring?
Well, she's had a brilliant life. She's seen more than anyone could see.
But what about her now? Stuck in a room, I bet.
It's complicated.
Isn't it? And I bet it's all because of the Doctor.
Obviously, the Crotons are in this, and they're very fun and very campy. I will confess, I actually haven't watched The Crotons, the Patrick Troughton story from 1968 to 1969. I've not watched that. It's very fun to hear Nicholas Briggs and James Goss just reminisce about how strange they were and the weird voices, including what appeared to be a Brummy Croton. I'm sure all of the Croton fans, all 6 of you, are really going to adore Harvest of the Crotons based on that. For me, though, I'm an intellectual, and of course, I appreciated Harvest of the Crotons because of the dynamic between River and Jackie. Not only do the two actresses have phenomenal chemistry with each other, you can hear it in the behind-the-scenes interviews, they even bring Camille Coduri back for another behind-the-scenes interview for a different separate story that she's not in, so they can talk about ghosts. But you've got Jackie Tyler, who feels like she's an abandoned parent who can't see her daughter because she's off travelling with the Doctor and everything's really complicated in their lives now, and River is literally a very complicated person because of what happened with the Doctor, and she is now the orphaned daughter who can't see her parents anymore because of the Doctor's interference. So you have the abandoned mother in Jackie Tyler and the orphaned daughter in River Song, and the two are able to relate to each other on that level, and it was a really thoughtful script. I kind of wish that the two had spent a little bit more time with each other. The second act of Harvest of the Crotons is a little bit flat, where they're separated and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and there's the metal snakes that River has to encounter outside. I thought that was a little bit ho-hum, but the start of Harvest of the Crotons, where it's setting up all of these themes and it's also setting up the cast, including a former soap actress called Harmony, played by Alex Fletcher, who is sort of the main insight into this sort of has-been soap opera world. And then you get the third act where the Crotons themselves are getting directly involved, and the climax of that story pays homage to the climax of the Crotons, and a really lovely epilogue where it's just two great actors bouncing off each other with these really well-honed characters that they've been playing for a long time and are able to dig deep. I really liked this story and those performances. Now, the third story of this set is Dead Man Talking by Tim Foley, and I was not really expecting much from this one, but this was my unambiguous favourite story of this box set. Dead Man Talking is a wonderfully intimate character horror drama, which I actually think you could repurpose this audio drama script into a really compelling stage play, similar to something like The Woman in Black. River Song arrives at a house run by Mrs. Prendergast, played by Carol Royal, and the story takes place after a great war on Earth, a world war, you pick which one. And Mrs. Prendergast has got a visitor in the house called Stanley Kim, played by Irvine Iqbal, and Stanley purports to be a medium, a telepath who is able to speak to the souls of the dead. And Mrs. Prendergast has lost her son in the war and is desperate to speak with him again, and is basically bowing to all of Stanley's whims in order to appease him so that they can have visitations. But River Song is here for a reason. Stanley Kim is being deceptive. The two butt heads. Let's play a clip from Dead Man Talking.
Since I'm not in your employ, I would doubtless struggle to connect to your loved ones.
Oh, that's how it works, is it? I slip you some coin and the connection improves.
You mustn't mock my gifts, my good woman. That's a risky thing to do.
I'm sure it is. You strike me as a dangerous individual. But would you like to know a secret, Stanley Kim?
I am a purveyor of secrets.
Then here's one you can have for free. I'm a dangerous individual, too.
Here we go. Stanley, if you could,
Let me help you with the door there.
Thank you, dear. Right then. River, are you sure I can't tempt you with something from the trolley? There are a lot of spirits tucked away at the bottom there. More than we've seen this evening.
I'm glad you amuse yourself with my failures, Mrs. Prendergast.
Oh, I didn't mean anything by it, Stanley.
No. Keep chortling away. I put myself through constant disarray to cross the astral plane, and in return you mock me. If this is how you treat your mediums, don't be surprised when we never hear from your son again.
What I loved about Dead Man Talking is how it was able to use the audio medium in order to pull a brilliant 180 twist about midway through the story. I won't tell you what happens or exactly what the nature of that twist is, because I think that's spoilers, but the way how it world builds in the Doctor Who universe, and it's able to do a few really clever and thoughtful name drops, and it's able to play in with the Orphan theme of the Orphan Quartet box set as well. It was really cleverly handled, and Tim Foley, he played me like a violin and cut my strings. It's a cliche saying, but he really strung me along throughout Dead Man Talking. The performances were terrific. You really empathise and endear yourself to Mrs. Prendergast, who's really just an incredibly desperate and grieving mother who's willing to do anything just to speak to her son Jimmy again. And Stanley Kim is a terrible con artist, but the way he holds himself and his lyrical use of language and how he's able to speak and hold himself, you can see why he's been so successful at this particular con. You don't like Stanley Kim, but you also understand that he doesn't deserve the fate he ultimately gets, something that does get commented upon by River Song in this story. Some great and creepy sound design. You really get a sense of place with this box set in this dilapidated house. Like I said, you could turn this into a stage play with very few adjustments to the actual text itself. It would be really effective. This was a really riveting listen. Genuinely scary, able to use your knowledge of the Doctor Who universe against you over the course of this story, putting River Song in a really complicated moral dilemma and a really satisfying ending with a terrific and small cast. Dead Man Talking is the head and shoulders standout of this box set because it does so much with so little. This is a really triumphant bit of writing. And lastly, the finale of the Orphan Quartet and the finale of the Diary of River Song box set, The Wife of River Song, written by Lizzie Hopley. River Song is towards the end of her archaeological career. She's going on a dig, seeking something called the Hive. She ends up finding it by going through a rift, and then anarchy ensues. Also in the Hive is Brooke, and for those of you who don't know, because you don't spend your afternoons on TARDIS Wiki, Brooke is played by Nina Toussaint White, who played Mel's in Series 6's Let's Kill Hitler, basically one of the first incarnations of River Song. And Nina Toussaint White has also played a version of River Song in the Big Finish audio dramas called Brooke, who is one of the River Song clones that Madame Kovarian at Demon's Run was trying to use to assassinate the Doctor. She's the second incarnation, who was formerly a companion of the Fifth Doctor. Doctor Who's weird. She's essentially River Song's clone sister. Let's leave it at that. But also in the Hive is a character called Jane, played by Sarah Jane Potts, and she purports to be the wife of River Song, but she's meeting River Song at the wrong time, similar to what River Song did with the Doctor in Series 4, where they've met each other in the wrong order, and River Song does not know who this wife person is. However, the Hive itself has got an infection on board that has killed all of the occupants. There's some weird, mysterious plague there, and it seems that Brooke might be the source of that plague. Let's play a clip from The Wife of River Song.
Where the hell have you been?
Oh, and I'm fine. What are you doing here? Assassinating an aromatherapist?
Have you seen the clientele here? Oh, no. No! Oh, you've broken him! Oh, shit. Must you destroy everything I have?
What? Oh, I should never have fallen for this. Where's Kovarian? Getting a facial?
Well, she's somewhere else, which is where I'd rather... Oh, watch out!
River?
Stay back.
It's all right, Jane.
This is her, isn't it? Brooke.
River, don't let her touch you. She's marked.
Marshall? How did she... She's destroyed Marshall.
No, Jane, it's all right.
Who the hell is Jane?
She doesn't know what she's done.
Let her go, River. She's not safe.
Not safe? Brooke, this is your fault.
Me?
Facilities like this are secure for a reason. You breach it for some private contract.
Oh, no. What has she been telling you?
You are the virus, Brooke. You're the intrusion the system detected and has been protecting its clients from ever since. Because of you, everyone here is dead.
While I did enjoy the finale, The Wife of River Song, I do feel like it is too many finales in one story. You've got River Song meeting her sister, you've also got her in the same story meeting someone who purports to be her wife, and I think that you should have done either one of those stories and not done both of them, because it ends up really muddying the waters, and I don't think it quite worked. In this story, Brooke spends a lot of time on her own or chatting to a robot marshal on the Hive who is essentially trying to keep order at the facility, but she doesn't actually have that much to do because there's also a lot of focus being put on River Song and Jane and them rediscovering their supposed relationship. It means that both of these selling points don't really quite get the time that they deserve in order to really come across as credible to the audience. Brooke feels a little bit like a spare part, even though Nina Toussaint White is clearly having a lot of fun with the material, and you just don't really get much of an emotional bond between River Song and Jane. There's a reason Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead is a 2-part story in Series 4. If that was just a 1-part... Yeah, imagine if that was a 1-parter, but they still wanted to have that really satisfying emotional ending. It doesn't quite work, because the actual amount of time and investment, whilst also competing with the plague, the A-plot that's killed everyone, that doesn't quite come together. And also, I've got to be completely frank with you, I have no idea what was happening in the last 10 to 15 minutes of The Wife of River Song, and honestly, I didn't really care. Which is a shame, because this is meant to be the finale of the Diary of River Song sets, even though it has an open ending, and even the behind-the-scenes interviews, they're only like 4 minutes long at the end of The Wife of River Song, and they hardly actually talk about the story itself, which I thought was quite disappointing. I know that because this story is like 5 or 10 minutes longer than the other ones, and there's only so much disc space, but for for download versions, it felt like it was a bit of an unsatisfying behind-the-scenes look at the story. Now, I wasn't expecting the wife of River Song to have some definitive finality to it. Like, I wasn't expecting River to say, oh, I'm going to now look after Hydroflax, and that leads into the husband of River Song, which leads into the very end of her story. But I was expecting at least like a full stop, not necessarily the end, but a full stop to this particular chapter, and we don't really get that. We actually kind of get a pretty muddled and unsatisfying ending. It's a shame that we've got this multi-River story and this subversion on the Doctor and River's relationship that we saw on TV with the wife of River Song, and neither of which are just given enough time to really come together. Which means, unfortunately, while the Orphan Quartet is a solid quadrilogy of stories, it means that it kind of ends on a little bit of a dull note, because it does appear that this is going to be the end of the Diary of River Song sets from Big Finish, at least in its current form. Now, we've seen Alex Kingston appear in other people's box sets. For example, she was in, I think, the Doom Coalition with the 8th Doctor. She's had some adventures with the 10th Doctor in his own range as well, which were pretty good from a few years ago. So while this is the end of the Diary of River Song from Big Finish, I don't think this is the end of River Song in terms of expanded media appearances within Big Finish. And if Peter Capaldi ever joins Big Finish, oh boy, there's about 50 box sets worth of material where Alex Kingston and Peter Capaldi could have adventures for those 24 years on Darillium, and you know what, I would buy and listen to all of those adventures. But still, this is a really good box set overall. It just ends on a little bit of a dull note. And you know what, the variety is absolutely terrific. So if you are after some variety in your box sets, then the Orphan Quartet is a really easy recommendation, with some great performances, great scripts, and Dead Man talking is genuinely something quite special. And in future, I'm going to try and dive into some older Diary of River Song box sets. I keep on hearing amazing things about Series 2, but I'll try and dive in and give you my thoughts on those at a later date. But thanks so much for watching my review of The Diary of River Song, The Orphan Quartet from Big Finish Productions. Let me know what you thought of the box set in the comment section below, or the other River Song box sets. Let me know which one I should listen to first, as you can listen to these out of order, and I'll see you folks next time.